YouTube, you already know who it is. The man, the myth, the legend, Nonsensical. And I'm here with quite the interesting battle. It's Jesus Christ from the Bible, from the biblical stories, versus Moses from Prince of Egypt. Now you're probably wondering, what the hell? Why the fuck? Nigga, what are you thinking? And look, the battle, we're just gonna get into it. I guess I'll get into how I thought about it afterwards. So we're gonna start off with Jesus. Now I might do like two scenarios. The second scenario being more of headcanon or taking into account others' headcanon. But the first scenario is just gonna be, average, basic scaling of Jesus and Moses. However, now there's no in-character way to do this fight, so there's not going to be like an in-character way of thinking I'm going into this. So this might be more of my head canon into the first scenario. Ironic, I know, but there's not because these two are pacifists. Jesus was a pacifist throughout his whole life, and Moses became a pacifist after he discovered God, literally. So we're just gonna, I guess I'm just gonna do it off my head canon. So we're gonna start off with Jesus. Jesus was born in Bethlehem by the Virgin Mary, and his father was Joseph the carpenter. Jesus became a carpenter himself. He would then spend his entire life spreading the good word of God. Now, in some renditions of Jesus' story, he's considered the Son of God. In others, he's God incarnate. It's really up in the air. I mean, it really doesn't matter in this battle. I'm just saying, in some forms, he's the Son of God. In others, he's God incarnate, human incarnate. So, do with that what you will. So let's just go with his physical attributes. The strength, we're going to separate lifting strength and striking strength. As I said before, lifting strength is different from striking strength. Lifting strength, he will have at least above average human. Striking strength, he probably would have below average human striking strength, to be honest, because he was a pacifist. So he didn't really fighting wasn't his thing. So he probably doesn't even know how to throw a proper punch. Durability, he's not even whip level, average human. But real talk, if he was ever in a relationship, I think we know who would wear the pants in that relationship. Stamina, I'm going to give him above average human, just because, he was in the desert doing most of his carpeting, no industrial heating. And if you've ever worked in the heat, like if you've ever done construction, you know that is even more taxing on the body. You have to have at least above human stamina and endurance. Reaction speed, did I get to combat speed? I don't think I did. Reaction speed, average human. Combat speed, average human. Now let's get to the juicy part. His hexes and abilities. Actually, I'm going to contribute his abilities to hexes, because honestly, that's what they are. So he has tons. He has like a few healing hexes. He's healed multiple people throughout his lifetime. He has multiplicity hacks or a multiplication hacks. He's fed thousands of people. He's fed 1,000 people with one loaf of bread. He's fed like 4,000 people. He's fed also another 5,000 people with just nothing more than a fish and some water. So Jesus has some impressive multiplicity hacks or multiplication hacks, however you want to say it. I like multiplicity because of the movie. Jesus also has animal manipulation hacks. He's helped this fisherman and his family catch fish. They caught so many fish that day that their casting net actually broke. So unless you want to if you want to limit that, if you want to lowball it, you can just say he can only affect aquatic animals, I guess. But I'm just gonna say he can manipulate other animals, just all forms of animals except humans, because he's never shown that ability. I mean, now you're getting into like some, humans are technically animals. We're mammals. So I guess you could highball it to human manipulation as well, but humans are a little bit more cognitive than animals, like mentally aware and socially, I'm not going to get into all that. Let's just say he can only manipulate animals. Let's see. What else? Jesus also has some form of weather manipulation. He settled down, like he calmed a furious storm so it wouldn't like destroy a family's home or a town. So he has some form of weather manipulation. He also has soul manipulation hacks, at least to a certain degree. He's cured multiple people of possession, and he's also exorcised a few demons. Now, when I say soul, like, again, he has soul manipulation to a certain degree. He can't like extract human souls. He's never shown to be able to do this. And demonic souls are different than human souls because they're just evil in nature. Like, I guess not evil, but demonic in nature. They're of a different ethereal essence, is what I'm trying to say. They're not like regular humans or anything. That's just... So he can't be possessed. You won't be able to possess Jesus or his followers. But other than that, he has no other form of soul manipulation. He has resurrection hacks. He can resurrect other people as well as himself. You know, famously, he's real famous for rising after 3 days after his crucifixion. And is that all the hacks is that all his abilities? I'm going over the list. Yeah, okay, I think that's it. Oh, and I'm quoting these abilities from Christianity.com. So if you want to just hop over there, I guess I'll put a link in the description below, if I remember. But yeah, that's all of Jesus' hacks and abilities. Now, with that being said, let's get into the boy Moses. Moses from Prince of Egypt. All of his abilities comes from God himself, version of God. So I'm not really gonna say he can use all of God's abilities just because he doesn't have any control over the God in his universe. So you can't just like say he can use all of God's abilities, and then it's a different continuity of God. So you really couldn't just say he can do all the things that Christianity God can do. So I just wanted to get that out the way early. Now, with that being said, Moses has weather manipulation hacks. He can make it rain fire. He can he can make it rain like giant balls of fire. He can I'm trying to think. Did I get into Jesus real quick? Real quick, I forgot one. Jesus can heal. I already said about Jesus healing hacks. He can heal people of various illnesses and diseases. I just wanted to get that out the way, like leprosy, and I think he healed a paraplegic. I think he did. Okay, so let's just get that out the way. Moses can spread a disease or a plague that can wipe out entire crops fields. When I say crop fields, I mean like cows and sheeps and shit like that. It can instantly kill them too. Moses can also spread a plague of locusts. These locusts can spread multiple like skin diseases. I think it's kind of ambiguous, but I'm not sure if they killed anybody. I don't think nobody died from it, but yeah, it's like bumps and it's kind of like measles a little bit. Moses also has a transmutation hacks of himself. He can transmutate water into blood. He literally did that just to show people he's not fucking around, like he is the messenger of God, which was baller. He just did it to do it. He also has a transmutation hacks of his staff. I almost forgot about that one. He turned his staff into like into a snake, a king cobra to be exact. So he can transmutate inanimate objects into a whole lot of animals, which is again pretty fucking baller. What else? I wish I'd wrote down these hacks. I had Jesus' hacks on my phone, but I don't. I'm just memorizing Moses' hacks because Moses doesn't have that many hacks. He can summon a giant flame tornado, and this tornado doesn't really have like a time limit. However, if Moses is separated from the tornado to a certain distance, then I guess you can say it deteriorates and although that could just be headcanon because it could be implied that God only stopped the tornado so he can bury the rest of the Egyptian army into just bury them under the sea because Moses split the sea. Oh, Moses also has water manipulation hacks. He can manipulate the water. Like it's crazy, man. It's fucking crazy. And Moses' most impressive hacks, in my opinion, in my honest, humble opinion, his most impressive hacks, he has a soul ripping hacks. He can rip your soul from your goddamn body. He can just instantly rip it. And this hacks is really impressive. It's not just impressive from like the feet. He can do it in a widespread range area. So like all of Egypt, or all of a certain area of Egypt, Moses just literally ripped the entire, like he took all of the kids' souls. Well, not Moses himself, but you know, God. Or I mean, the scene is called Angel of Death, so I guess you could say an angel came and did it. But he took all the firstborn kids' souls in under not just a night, but in a few seconds. He took all of their souls in under a few seconds. I don't want to hear shit. I don't want to hear it. And he did it in a widespread area. I didn't calc the circumference of the area. I didn't calc it. I didn't count like the range of it, but you could say city block, not city block. You could say like a small town or just a large town, because he did it throughout the entire kingdom. Even the king's firstborn was taken that time frame. So, and that's going to be important for scenario 2. Just to remember, he could do it in a widespread area in seconds. It did it in seconds. So, with all the abilities and hacks out of the way, I didn't get into Moses' physical attributes. Strength, normal human. Speed, normal human. Reaction speed, normal human. Combat speed, normal human. The fucking durability, average human. Stamina, average human. And his hacks doesn't seem to have a time limit. Like, his hacks doesn't take away from his stamina, so he can just keep spamming them. Same with Jesus. They can both keep spamming their hacks. Now that we have both characters' abilities and hacks out of the way, let's get to the fight itself. This fight will be fucking unironically amazing. Like, if anybody animated this fight, they can have so much fun with it, because you could say Jesus can pluck one strand of his hair, multiply that, turn it into a form of himself, and multiply like that strand 1,000 times. Like, he could take a strand of his hair, multiply it 1,000 times, and turn it into himself. That strand of hair, that 1,000 strand of hair, those 1,000 strands can then do the exact same thing and multiply themselves 1,000 times, 1,000, or like 5,000 times, 4,000 times. Low key, like, it's funny because people have called Naruto Jesus, or Kid Jesus, or whatever the fuck. You could call Jesus Naruto. He would have better shadow clone jutsu than Naruto. Like, it's fucked, because his ability doesn't strain his body or take away from his stamina, so he could just keep doing it. It's fucking insane. Moses himself can counter this with, like, okay, let's just say they're in the desert. Moses could take every grain of sand, or like just 100,000 million grains of sand, and just turn them all into different various forms of animals. Now, you could say this would be detrimental to Moses, because Jesus could then manipulate these animals to attack Moses, but then Moses would just make it rain fire. Now, you could say Jesus can counter this. Jesus actually has a lot of counters to Moses' hacks. This is crazy. Jesus could counter all of that. Rain and fire, he could counter that with his weather manipulation hacks. He can at least calm the fire. He can't redirect it, but he can at least settle the storm. Now, I don't know if that will be classified as weather, if it rains fire. Now, if lightning, yeah, because if lightning is considered like weather, because lightning is fucking weather, then you could say that raining fire would just be an exaggerated form of lightning and shit like that. So yeah, Jesus has a lot of counters to Moses' hacks. The two biggest hacks that Moses had. Oh, hold on. Moses can transmutate all the sand into water and just separate the water and crush all the Jesuses under the water. Now you could say that in the movie, the prince or the king of Egypt survived Moses' brother or brother-in-law or stepbrother or adopted brother. Did I just say step and brother-in-law? God damn it. I mean adopted brother. You could say that one Jesus could survive and just the battle would just start anew again. You could say that, you could, but then Moses would just split the water, bury the motherfucker, split the water, bury the motherfucker. And here's the thing, this fight might come down to the war of attrition, and I'm gonna get into why later. Right now I'm just gonna keep explaining how amazing this fight would be. So Moses could then summon a fucking flame tornado fire. Now this is purely fire. It's not like atmospheric tornado or anything like that. It's not a tornado form in a regular sense. It's just literally a literal fire twister. So Jesus isn't going to have a way to control that. That doesn't fall into the category of weather, because I've never seen a tornado turn into fucking fire. That's not and it's not composed with the same components of a tornado anyway, so you can't, no, there's no way Jesus could counter this. Now Jesus could just resurrect all of his dead selves. He could resurrect them, or they'll resurrect themselves and just keep fighting. Moses, all he would have to do is just stand there and let himself be protected by this flame tornado, and it just go around and around and around and around and around. This fight would be fucking, bro, this fight is unironically great. It's unironically fucking great. I mean it, bro. I fucking mean it. What else? The fight comes down to the war of attrition. Eventually, if it comes down to that, now you could make an argument for Jesus outlasting Moses in terms of stamina, unless if we take into account sleeping and shit like that. However, if it does come down to that, and if it does just come down to just war of attrition, all Moses would have to do is just soul rip, and it's GG no re, Jesus is dead. All of the Jesuses are dead. Now, Jesus has never been able, or never been shown to be able to come back from having his soul ripped out of his body. Now if you want to say, well, he could just resurrect from that, again, his soul is ripped from his body. There's how? How is he going to come back from that? His soul is gone. What is there to resurrect? There's nothing to resurrect. His soul, his life essence is drained from his body. He can't, I just don't see how Jesus is going to come back from that. Now when it came to somebody else, now I guess you could say, since since the body leaves the soul anyway, and he brought the body back, he brought the soul back from the body. But I'm this isn't he can summon it back from the dead. He can summon it from heaven. This soul is in a different continuity of heaven. It's not, no, there's no way. There's no way Jesus is gonna bring his clones back if they all have their souls ripped out of their body. That would come down to a form of soul manipulation that he just doesn't have. And he won't be able to resist his soul being ripped from his body, because it's not being possessed, it's literally getting ripped. So the first round, I'm gonna give it 8 times out of 10. If they do if we're taking it to 10 fights, if they do it if we do it 10 fights, 8 times out of 10 to 9 times out of 10, I'm giving it to Moses in the first scenario. Second scenario, in some forms of Jesus' story, his life story, he's been said to have the same abilities of God. Now, this is more headcanon, because I've read through a few. I read through a few of Jesus' stories. I know a few of them personally because of my family and shit. So I don't know how I feel about. I don't really feel like he would come. When he came back, he was floating and shit, but that's not really a sign of godly power. That just means he has flight. However, he hasn't been shown or demonstrated any forms of God's powers in any way. But if I did give Jesus the benefit of the doubt, he would have one hacks that could instantly rip Moses. It would be the God speak ability. This is what I call it personally. God spoke the name of an angel or a person, and they died instantly. This would be GG no re Moses. However, again, this is not an in-character. There's no in-character fight, so I can literally make it go down how I feel like it would go down, or not how I feel like it would go down, but just I could take the abilities of both and the hacks of both and just mash them together and see what would happen. Moses' feet of ripping the souls out of the firstborn of an entire city or an entire kingdom in just seconds, it would be it's more impressive than saying a name and they would die instantly. Now I know what you're saying. How's that more impressive? Well, at least in terms of this fight specifically, like the feats themselves, they're both very impressive. However, Moses would be able to rip Jesus' soul faster than Jesus can say Moses' name, because this soul rip was able to travel hundreds of yards, hundreds of feet, maybe hundreds of feet. I'll say hundreds in just a few seconds. And let's say they're just in a versus battle algorithm. It's supposed to be the maximum range of both characters. So I guess we'll say 25 feet. If the soul rip can take hundreds of souls, I don't know if it's like literally hundreds, but if it can take multiple souls within like hundreds of feet within a few seconds, crossing, let's say 10 to 25 feet, because I want to be fair, it can, like, crossing 25 feet, it will be able to do it in milliseconds. I say, like, let's say 4.5 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds, 20 milliseconds tops. How fast a person can say a person's name. Like, for example, Moses, if I clocked my own speed, it would be around 40 milliseconds. I actually clocked it earlier just in case, like, if the fight had to come down to this. I honestly feel like it would, because this is very, like, in scenario 2. Now, this isn't the only way Jesus would be able to kill Moses, but Moses' soul rip is just such an impressive hacks. Again, I don't know all of Christian's God abilities. I just know of that one. Like, I mean, I know a few of them, but I just feel like that's the most impressive, and it'll just come down to who can insta kill the other first. So again, it takes like 39 milliseconds, 49 milliseconds, 40 milliseconds. I even clocked it as fast as 30 milliseconds. I was trying to go my fastest. So again, 30 milliseconds, 25 milliseconds. Yeah, it's GG no re. Moses wins. Now in this one, this is more headcanon, so this fight could go like however you feel like it could go. In my personal, like, in my opinion, I just feel like the fight will go Moses insta rip Jesus, and if it's like a fight to 10 bouts, let's say I'll say 5.5 times out of 10 Moses takes it. 5.5 to 6 times out of 10. It'd be high diff. It'd definitely be high diff. I know what you're saying. Oh, how is it going to be high diff when you just said he can instant rip the soul? Because the moment Moses doesn't instant rip Jesus is instant ripping Moses, and vice versa. So they would have to try as hard as they possibly could to, like, speak the name or to rip the soul of the other. Other than that, I don't really see any other, like, scenarios. Now the second scenario could be even better than the first, because Jesus would then have access to all of God's abilities, and that's just, if it wasn't for the instant rip, if it wasn't for like the soul rip, yeah, Jesus would no diff Moses. Jesus would no diff Moses. I don't really see a way Moses would win. And I guess I could make a second video upon the about the second scenario. I could do that. I might. I don't think, like, this battle's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna get a lot of views, and I don't think a lot of people is gonna request about that. So, like, that's the fight. That's the versus battle. It's my first versus battle. I felt like it'd be a nice, because nobody ever talks about this. All right, now I could talk about how I came up with this battle. I came up with this battle because I was watching Robot Chicken one night, right? Like a few months ago, I was watching Robot Chicken, and Goten asked Goku, could he kick an angel's ass? And Goku said, "You're damn right I could." You know, which is kind of ironic because of Dragon Ball Super, and if you know Dragon Ball Super, you know that's a goddamn lie. But obviously they were talking about the Christian angels and shit. But then I got to thinking, could Goku kick Jesus' ass? And then I got to thinking, could Goku whoop Moses' ass? And then I got to thinking, could Jesus whoop Moses' ass? I was just thinking about that shit. Then I got to thinking about that battle. Or was it no, I don't think that's how I came up with the battle. I think that was like it does contribute to the battle, but it's not how I came. Okay, this is how I came up with. Is it? Okay, I'm gonna just tell you the other way I think I came up with the battle. I'm not sure anymore. The second way I came up with it, or like the way I think I came up with it, second explanation, I was thinking, I was like, I read the Superman issue where he fought Muhammad Ali equal stats, and then I started thinking, could Michael Jordan whoop Superman's ass with equal stats? And then I got to thinking, could Jesus whoop Superman's ass with equal stats? And then of course, then I thought, could Moses do it? And then I thought, could Jesus whoop Moses' ass? Not with equal stats, but could they just fight? That's the second explanation, just in case I'm getting my stories mixed up. I'm not really sure myself. So that's the video. I hope you enjoy. It's something different. It's a different kind of versus battle. You always have like Superman versus Goku, or you have like fucking Galactus versus Galactus versus Thanos, or Thanos versus Darkseid, or Sonic versus Mario. I don't look, you don't know why I don't like Sonic versus Mario. You don't know why I don't like it, but it's due to a certain person on Discord, on a certain person's Discord. I'm not naming no fucking names, but god damn it, I'm salty. Sonic wins. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. Fuck that. But yeah, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you didn't, there's no way you're not gonna enjoy this video. It's very different. This is like a one-of-a-kind video. Not to pat myself on the back, not to be like humble brag and shit, but I just feel like it's a one-of-a-kind video. Yeah, if you didn't enjoy it, I don't know what to tell you. Bye.